going on? Jay here, the No Spoon Podcast. We are back with another episode. Let me get everything together. I see my boy Broken Traditions is here. What's going on, bro? Yeah, we are live. Get everything said. Let me know if you guys can hear me in the comment section. If you can, I was going to say put a thumbs up, but we're going to do something different. Put a spoon in there because this is the No Spoon Podcast. If you find that spoon emoji, put it in the comment section. Let us know that you can hear and everything sounds good. Before we get going, we got a special guest on today. And because he's here, Broken Traditions, if you're here on YouTube, stick around at 8:45 Eastern Time. He's going to be breaking down the Woman King. So a shout out to him. All right, everything sounds good. Shout out to my wife though for putting this new sign. She made this sign for me. I think I got it's cool. It's in my wife, man. Shout out to her because she pretty much put the whole thing together. She got the little hustle sign back there. She put all that stuff while I was at work. And see, Broken Traditions had told me to bring back the Kobe in the background. So that's for you, big dog. But yeah, shout out to her, man, because she really handles all the decoration. I don't do none of that. If it was up to me, we'd have the big screen up, but we'd probably just have a folding chair. Plants. She got plants everywhere. That ain't really my thing. So shout out to her for putting this together. Shout out to everybody that's out here listening. If you listen to the live stream, even if you listen to the replay, it's much appreciated. See, I got the new hat on, the orange. Man, we ready to go. We got a great show today. We got a special guest in the building. I think he represents most of our views. At least I would say 80-90% of our views. To keep it real. I mean, as far as where we stand in this whole this political spectrum we find ourselves in. If you in the comments, feel free to comment. It says we lagging on Twitter like crazy. That's not good. We gotta check that out. Let me see what's going on here. It says we're live. But anyways, I'm gonna have to look into that on the Twitter. If not, jump on YouTube. We're live over there. We ready to get started. Everything looks cool. Except for that Twitter stuff, man. Let's see what's up with that. Let's go. We're gonna start this. What's going on, everybody? My name is Che, and this is the No Spoon Podcast, and I appreciate everybody for tapping in with us this afternoon on a Wednesday. Look, I would love to be like super consistent. I know we had the last two shows on a Friday, and I would love to be able to do that, but like I said before, the work schedule is crazy. And so sometimes, it is what it is. I can't really determine how the work goes and what the schedule is going to be like. So we get it in where we can, you know what I mean? And my whole thing is, like I said before, I'm making a commitment to at least bring something to you every single week. So if it's on a Wednesday, if it's on a Friday, if it's on a Thursday, if it's on a Saturday, whatever it is, we're going to try to get you something that we can break down the politics, culture, and current events like we always do. Today we got a special guest, and we're going to bring him in here in a second. But here, like, the comments are open. Go ahead and leave a comment. I want to say first and foremost, if you have not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so now. Like I said, I'm bringing content every single week. We got videos up there. If you haven't seen the videos from last week, I've broken down some videos. 2-3 videos a week is going up. an episode every single week is going up. We're gonna have some fire guests on. We had Curtis Schoon on a couple weeks ago. Last week we broke down the whole mask thing and the whole agenda behind that and what's going on with that and how that's leading to this whole greater agenda and things like that. So appreciate you guys for everybody that has watched it and viewed it, shared. But go ahead and take the time right now to subscribe to the channel, smash that like button. Go ahead and share this to as many people as possible because you guys are the reasons that we can make this happen and we can keep going, man. That's the thing. If you can support the best that you can. If you want to support monetarily, the Cash App is right there at the bottom, as you can see. But if not, man, just at least subscribe. That's all we ask. Just subscribe to the channel. But anyways, let me get to my guest and let me kind of preface you guys. Um, my guest has a podcast called Stuck in the Middle, and I think that's perfect for everything that I think that majority of us are feeling. Like we're feeling in the middle. There is this great polarization that's happening right now in the United States of America, and this polarization is between left and right, is between liberal and conservative and Democrat and Republican and all these different things, right? And we see that happening every single day. And I think that there's a lot of people that are just finding themselves stuck in the middle. I think that we are getting away from common sense um, policy. We're getting away from common sense politics. We're getting away from just common sense, period. You know what I mean? It's almost like we're lacking common sense um, just going to the grocery store. We're just lacking common sense, period. And it's something that I think that is finding a lot of us just feeling stuck in the middle. Like we don't know where to go. We feel like one side is extreme and the other side is just as extreme. And I've said this before. One of the things that you can count on is that when one side becomes extreme, the other side is going to counter that because they're trying to protect what they have. So you feel like if the left goes extremely left, right, and their politics gets just extremely left, right? What happens is the right, in order to hold on to their politics because it feels threatened with how extreme the left has gone, they go an extreme way, and this leads to a furthering a widening gap, and it's more polarization. So there's a lot of people, and I've talked and just talking to people. I mean, this isn't like we're talking about off of Twitter, and we're talking about in real life when you talk to people and you just get to talking about common sense things. A lot of us agree. We do. We might not like certain figures. Some people might not like Donald Trump. Some people might not like Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or that you know that whole side of the spectrum. But for the most part, I feel like there's a lot of us, and that's why I said 80-90%. I feel like just agree with common sense policy, common sense agenda. Like there's certain things that I think that if you're on either side, you're looking at your side. If you want to say that it's your side, I think that you're starting to go, where are we going here? And so that's kind of like on here. We try to have unbiased views. We try to be able to give you the facts minus the feelings. But of course, I mean, you can't do that with everything. We all are emotionally invested to a certain extent, but we do our best as content creators, as people that are truth tellers. We try our best to tell the truth, and I think that our the guest that we have on now does that exceptionally well. I was a guest on his podcast. Now he's a guest on mine. That's how we're supposed to do it, especially when we're all independent and we're all trying to beat the algorithm. We have to support each other. We have to put each other on. And so let's give a welcome to my friend Osiris from the Stuck in the Middle podcast.
Let's get it. What's good, Shay?
Man,
Thanks for
how
having
you
me,
doing?
bro.
Oh man, I appreciate you being here, bro. Like I said, that's how we got to do it, right? We got to support each other.
Man, if we don't look out for each other, who will? Absolutely. That's
Absolutely.
the best part of this whole thing for me is
Hmm.
connecting with people like you that if I didn't do this channel, we probably would have never connected.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is the best part in my opinion. Like I've met so many great people. Um, like just like right now, Broken Traditions. He's in the comment section right now. I mean, we had a cool little session yesterday for a couple hours, just talking just talk. I mean, and we really didn't even get into no pop. We were talking like, hey, how do you do this? How do you create this? How do you make this? How
Mhm.
do you put this graphic up? How do you just giving each other tips, and everything is just, it's all reciprocated with how we put each other on, basically. And
If you do those sessions, don't hesitate to hit me up because I'm learning, and yeah, we can build and figure out how to beat the algorithm, how to get attention, and what to do. I love that.
I'm gonna say this, and here's the thing. It's just a teaser, right? It's just a teaser, so I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, what you talking about?" But it's a teaser. We got something big in the works. We got something
Ooh.
big. We got something big in the works, and it's in the preliminary stages, but it's something big in the works, and it's we gonna put it all together, man. And that's how we got to do it. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. It's big in the works, preliminary stages, but watch out.
Breaking news.
But hey, how you been, man? It's been a
I've
couple
been
months, huh?
good. Yeah, I've been good, man. Just just like everybody else, trying to survive. Got good to see. I got two young kids, watching them play sports and learning how to be a part of a team. I think that's a skill that's just so valuable to have.
Mm.
And I think part of the reason why we've got so much craziness going on in the world is we don't. I don't think we even know how to be a team anymore. You have to learn how to agree to disagree, sit on the sideline sometimes, cheer somebody else on. Sometimes you're the star, sometimes you're the blocker. He's playing flag football, so that's good stuff.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's man. If it wasn't for my growing up playing sports, I wouldn't know half the things. I think I agree with you. I think a lot of the problem in the world is that we just sit in our house and play video games all day, and there's no interaction. And how do we kind of bring things together?
We're not forced to be in a group with people and agree, disagree, work. I also, me, myself, growing up, one of my favorite things growing up, I don't play right now, but I used to play violin and viola. One of my favorite
Hmm.
things growing up
Oh
was
wow.
being a part of an orchestra, being a part of a quartet where you
Oh wow.
practice. Yeah, you're in the violin section. If everybody's going up, up, down, you got to go up, up, down. If you don't like going up, up, down, then you got to convince everybody else, let's go down, down, up. And that stuff happens. And you've got a leader, the conductor, you've got leaders in the sections. So, a lot of people are followers. You got to learn how to be a follower, when to be a follower, all skills that I would never trade for anything.
Those are invaluable things, and I feel like the more that we're becoming remote, you know what I
Hmm.
mean, where people are
Yeah.
just now living doing working at home, and they're not really there's no coordination, there's no togetherness, and I think those are invaluable things, like you said, that I wouldn't trade for anything.
Yeah. And now I'm looking back at it, and we'll probably get into that later.
Hmm.
Did and I hope this doesn't upset our overlords at YouTube, but is it fair to ask the question now? I'm not making anything definitive statement that we got sent home. Is it fair to ask, was that necessary? Not making any statements or anything about that. I think the situation was real, but looking back and knowing what we know now, is why don't we have some type of review? Like, okay, companies sent people home and went virtual.
Hmm.
Was that like, do we know for sure that that was the right thing to do? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think that i- the problem from my perspective, was that we never were allowed to even ask that question. I think we were never allowed to say, okay, if we do this, what are the ramifications of doing that? And that, to me, was the biggest red flag in this whole situation, was how come we can't ask questions?
Yeah, the government snaps their fingers, says, "Oop, this is what our response is, whatever that is." And then corporations all do it. The corporations do not have to do it. There were no laws passed.
Hmm.
I mean, we're talking about from the federal level, they set the scene. States, because every state handled it kind of differently. Even some states, I'm in Colorado, they let the county handle certain things differently. And but the federal government said, and then this is under Trump, and then everyone else falls in line. And for future reference or future issues, I don't think we can operate like that.
No, I agree. I mean, yeah, 100%. It's crazy how there was so much there was so much done, and there was so much policy that was implemented that had long-term effects. I had a whole my whole last episode we were talking about masks, and how I don't think anybody's talking about it and how it affects crime. You know what I mean? This is like
Hmm.
this is a criminal's playground because you can't get identified. And I don't think people aren't talking about it because this is not just not the thing that comes to their mind. But if you're a criminal and you have to think like a criminal, man, put a mask on me and I just walk around all day. And those are things that we could not see, or I'm not going to say we couldn't see because there was people I saw it, a lot of other people saw it, but nobody was willing to say it, and the powers that be wouldn't allow anybody to say anything that went against what they were talking about.
It's funny you say that. I believe I saw that clip where you were talking about that, and
Hmm.
great insight. These are just like little things that maybe certain people might not be thinking. But the first time, I remember the first time I had to put a mask on to go to the store. Never in my life, outside of being in a hospital, did I ever put on one of those masks. And I texted my brother. I was like, I feel like, you kind of have the stigma. I don't look at race, but I know other people look at, my skin color. And I'm like, I feel like a little shaky going into a grocery store, putting a little mask on my face. I texted him like, this doesn't feel right. And, and then it got so normal, it felt weird not to wear it going to the
Hmm.
store after the months it was going on.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed people are kind of. I mean, out here in LA, you still have people that wear masks, but it's not as much as it used to be. But like I said, I think the problem is we've already become normal. It's become normal, so it's like
It
okay, well, masks are just part of life now.
Yeah, and that's not okay. That's not a part of
Hmm.
American culture. At least the way that it happened, it should be the decision up to each person. And I think it really kind of showed how they used fear, because there was never,
Hmm.
it talk about fear. I'm scared to even talk about what I need to talk about. But let me just say, for me, I never saw a study, a random control trial type study. Still to this day, I have not seen one that proves to me that that was worth it. And so
Yeah.
they're using fear to get people. There's a famous video, I don't know if you saw it, where there's a dude in the elevator with he walks into an elevator, I think, with two older women there. And they
Hmm.
have masks on and he doesn't have masks on. And they're going nuts on this
Oh
dude.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen that.
That older one where the woman he has the camera on her, and she has a camera in her hand, and she swings at him with a left hook. Why? She's scared out of her mind. She's an older woman and she's scared, and the risk factor changes by age. I get it. But they got people so scared, it was that easy to manipulate everyone. People are still shook right now. We might get into it later, but people are still shook right now.
No, they really are. I talked to a lady the other day, and she was telling me that she hasn't been in a restaurant, and she's like, I don't. She was like, I know it's a mental thing. She was an older lady,
Mhm.
so and she said, I know it's a mental thing, but I still have not brought myself to go inside of a restaurant since the pandemic. And I'm like, that's
Mhm.
crazy because I mean, besides the fact when they shut restaurants down over here, as soon as I was able to go to a restaurant, I went to a restaurant. Like I haven't changed anything as far as that. I've done everything that I could do. Let's put it to you like that.
Mhm.
And it's like, we're all still here. Remember, we were all supposed to die this past.
This past winter. One of the biggest regrets, though, of my life so far is masking my 2-year-old. My wife and
Mm,
I, and I'll be honest, it was out of convenience. We're both working. We can't we can't have a 2-year-old at work. We can, but we would
mm-hmm,
have to make some serious sacrifices. So we masked him up to go to school. I mean, half the time you go to school, they're not wearing it. Send them home, they're not wearing it. It's all snotty and nasty.
yeah.
But I feel like it has. It might just be in my head, but I feel like it has stunted some of his social and just even enunciating and talking as well.
Well, um, my wife works with young children, like around that age, and She was telling me that the kids are speech therapists are becoming, that industry is booming right now
Mm,
because a lot of kids, remember, when you're learning how to speak and you learn how to talk, it's not just it's not just words. They watch too. They watch to see your mouth. They watch to see how how you use your lips, how you lose. Everything is. These are kids, and everything is new to them. So they learn through a lot of observation. Now, when you covered the mouth, they lost that part of the teaching element. So there's a lot of kids where their speech development is not as where it should be, or where it would have been had they been able to have that part of their, learning how to talk. So there's things that are, irreversible damage. I mean, I'm not going to, well, I'm not going to say irreversible, but we're set back. You know what I mean? The clock is ticking
yeah.
on life, and you already know we have to move forward. But when you start doing stuff like that, man, I don't know. I think this is dangerous times. And I just, like I said before, there was things that probably people should have looked into before we made these decisions,
Mhm.
and you weren't allowed to. That was the biggest thing to me.
It's crazy. One of the worst things I think you can do to somebody is to tell them to shut up or they can't talk. When you're going through, I mean, there's always a place and time when to talk or not, don't get me wrong, but when you're having a big decision to make, the
Hmm.
biggest decision, there's this thing, whether it's aliens, pretend aliens come to our world. Aliens come down, and then you say, "Well, I don't know if these aliens are peaceful or not." And somebody tells you, "Shut up. We're going to censor you if you say that." That is some of the craziest. I mean, we're talking about the only thing that I look at that's stronger than stopping someone's free speech, the First Amendment, is like literally putting them in chains.
Yeah, I agree. I agree because thought is so important, right? And having people be able to express their thoughts, express their opinions. Um, there's a saying that I believe in. As most people know, that I run classes like a reentry prisoner reentry program, and one of the things we always say is, not one person knows everything, but everybody knows something. And so it's important that everybody brings what they have to the table, because we can sift through it and we can start to
Mhm.
figure out, okay, what's going to work, what doesn't work. And when you start saying that certain people, we can't talk, now we are depriving ourselves of information, knowledge that could help us. And I think that's the biggest, like you said, that's just as dangerous as putting people in chains physically, is to shut them up, to not let them get their thoughts out. And I think that was the biggest red flag for me over everything that happened, is once they started saying you can't say this, you're not allowed to say that. Once big tech started to censor people from saying this or saying that, that's when I was like, well, I can never believe you. Because nobody, let's get everybody's idea out there and let the best one, let's go with that one. Let's go with what's right.
Yeah, and there's people who believe. My impression is that they believe that you can stop hate. You can stop racism. You can stop bad ideas by censoring speech. And that is backwards thinking. But the I think throughout the last 2 years, we've almost gotten to that place. Well, when you ban a former president because you think they said they didn't break any laws, you think they said something bad and you think that's a good thing, like where is your society? Your society's at a place where it thinks you can shut people up and things get better. And it's
Hmm.
completely the opposite. That's the complete opposite on what this country has been built on.
Yeah, I think it's a very dangerous precedence. And we have a population where a lot of people, and I'm not going to say everybody, but there's a good section of the population that is really um dependent on what these people have to say. I want to get into this clip real quick. I want to get into this past week. President Biden was on 60 Minutes with Scott Pelley, and he had an interview with him, and there was a lot of things that came out. And we talk about, you run the Stuck in the Middle podcast, and um you know there was things that he riled up both sides, with some of the things that he said. um a lot of people thinking that maybe he he didn't really realize he was saying some of these things. like most of the things that he says. I don't know, but I'm gonna play a clip here of one thing he said, and it kind of goes into what we've been talking about here. Let me pull it up real quick, and then we'll kind of talk about it.
Yeah, well, I watched the whole interview while you're pulling that up, and um, 60 Minutes is a program I grew up with watching with my dad, and I've always held that entity in high regard, and they're just continuing to let me down with where they're at. But maybe it's just I'm awake now. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean that could be it too. But let's watch this clip real quick, and then we'll get back to it.
Mr. President, first Detroit Auto Show in 3 years.
Yeah.
Is the pandemic over?
The pandemic is over. We still have a problem with COVID. We're still doing a lot of work on it. But the pandemic is over. If you notice, no one's wearing masks. Everybody seems to be in pretty good shape. And so I think it's changing, and I think this is a perfect example of it.
Is the pandemic over?
Just like a lot of stuff that's going on in our world, I don't know what these definitions, I don't know what that means. What does it mean? So Joe Biden is just, he doesn't have, I don't know if he used to be very quick-witty and aware of things. So I'm walking and somebody asked me, is the pandemic over? Well, my first question is, what does that mean to you? Because if you look at the science of this is a virus, and I'm not going to, you talk to your doctor. I'm not making any type of medical diagnosis here, but let's talk about viruses in general. Viruses in general don't get cured all the time. Most viruses are not cured. So when you say the pandemic is over, do you mean that the overreach of the government is over? Is that what you really mean? Then say that. Then say that the government, he didn't say that. He said the pandemic is over, and then I think he said, look around, nobody's wearing masks. Well, what does that mean? We don't need masks anymore? Are you making a determination? So I just think that we need to define these things, because now everyone's saying, oh, he didn't really mean that it's over. Oh, what did he mean then? I don't know. They're saying that he didn't really mean that it was over. So then my question, that's fine. I make mistakes and I need to clean it up. Well, what did he mean then? I don't understand.
Because I seen the White House press secretary, I forget that what's her name?
Karine Jean-Pierre. Yep.
Jean-Pierre, yes. And she was saying it's the statement that he made. He said the pandemic is over, and he said we're still fighting it. And here's the thing: like, you can focus on whatever part you want to focus on, and she chose to focus on. He said it's still very real. We're still fighting it, and this and that, and which is part of. Is what he said, but he also said the pandemic is over. I think the thing that is getting Democrats and liberals kind of, they're getting them in kind of up in arms about him saying that, is because of the things that came with declaring a pandemic. And one of them, let's just be honest, as we come across the 2022 midterms, mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots was part of the pandemic strategy. So if you're saying that the pandemic is over, are we done with the mail-in ballots, the universal mail-in ballots? I mean, is that something that we're going to take back? I think that's what's got them kind of like, oh, you shouldn't say that.
Here's my thing. I think on the local level, you can do what you need to do. But what that means is that you need to pass laws. When this whole thing came down, everything was governor, president, executive edict, mayor edict. No laws. To my knowledge, no laws were passed about the pandemic. It was all emergency powers. And they chased me right to the Libertarian Party and libertarian ideas. No, there should never be an opportunity or a chance for a government entity to say emergency powers. So if you want to do universal mail-in ballots, I think that's up to the state. If the state wants to do that, that's not up to the federal government. The state's got to do it, but they've got to vote on it through their legislation or legislative branch and make it a law, not an emergency. Oh, we're going to bypass the situation and just do it. If you do it through law, I'm good. I don't want to live in those areas, but I'm good with that's what it is.
Well, I think I mean, I say this all the time, and you hear, especially a lot of people on the left, they like to say that they champion, people having power and power to the people, and the old slogans and stuff like that. But they're not really living by that, because a lot of what they want are, like you said, emergency powers, um, edicts, um, you know, executive orders. These are things where one person or a group of people, however you want to look at it, make a decision for the masses. And if you really want to talk about power being in the hands of the people, then let the people decide what's best for them. You know, if your area is, you want mail-in ballots, or you think it's important, or you think, that it's going to be beneficial, then whatever. Then, like you said, I don't have a problem with people voting on things. I mean, we can get into the whole democracy and all that, but
Mhm.
I just think, at the end of the day, I don't want somebody who has a special interest in doing something, um, and it's not necessarily the interest of the people being able to make those decisions.
Yeah, and then if you say the pandemic is over, now you've got so whenever you go through a crisis or a situation or planning, you've got the planning stage and then the action stage. Now we're in the exit stage.
Hmm.
So I need to see an exit plan. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen from the same people. The administrative state hasn't changed. It happened under Trump, but it was really the Burks of the world, the Faucis of the world. They were the ones really the movers and the shakers of this. So I need the people at that level to come forward. Maybe I've just missed it, but what's the next stage? What's the exit plan of handling this? So he said in that clip, things are changed on how we're handling it, or we're still fighting it. I think he said something
Hmm.
to that effect. What does that mean? I don't even know what these things mean. What does that mean? We've got the V. How are we fighting it? What are we talking about? We got the V. We're not mandating the masks on public government planes and stuff like that, and transportation. So what does it mean we're still fighting it? I know people are still passing away from it. I'm not trying to belittle this situation. I just want more details.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but that seems to be the playbook, is to always be vague in everything that they say.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I mean, you see that almost everything that Biden had said in that interview is was being walked back to a certain extent by his own White House staff, and it's like, wait a minute here, man. If that's the case, if it's over, if the president of the United States says it's over, let's dive into that. And you have to look at the media, and in this case it's Scott Pelley of 60 Minutes. He doesn't do that. He doesn't press. I would want to press. I would be like, well, what does, like you just said, what does that mean? Pandemic over? Can people, are these, mandating the V? Is that something that's done? Are we done with masks? Are we done with social distance? Are we done with doing things? Can we go back to complete normalcy? Because we still see that there's still kind of a push to bring some of these policies back. We always have a threat, even out here in LA. There's always a threat of, oh, we're going to bring back mandates. They just had that not too long ago, recently, a debate, but it got shut down. So, yeah, definitions are important.
Now that I see that there is no spoon to reference the podcast, I'm seeing everything now, and I'm looking at what happened with Trump. And like I said, it's these career well, they're not politicians, these career public servants that I see them protecting their role now. Under
Mhm.
Trump, Bill Barr came in. And I think I was confused about it because Bill Barr is an anti-Trumper, in my opinion. He's a
Mhm.
complete anti-Trumper. So why would he come in and try to defend Trump? I think he was trying to defend the power of the presidency. And once he did that, he was out. He hated Trump. He just wanted to protect the when I say power of the president, the role of the president to be the face of that administrative state. He didn't want Trump to go down and hurt that. And now I'm seeing Trump, when he was in power, they passed the Schedule F,
Mhm.
Well, they did this bill and Biden rescinded it. This is an executive order to kind of clean out all the career politicians because right now it's very hard to fire them. And what I'm
Mhm.
seeing is like with the raid on Trump, for example, he's got classified documents. Who, if the president can't unclassify a document, who can? He's the head honcho. He's the boss. And to go to Biden, I'm seeing Biden make statements and then other people, like you said, coming out and say, no, that's not it. And Biden's fine with it. It's like he's playing this role and we're seeing people come from the woodworks to try and protect his ability to be the puppet, basically. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
can you imagine the CEO of a company? So Elon Musk says something, and then some other people say, no, no, no. What Elon Musk really meant was this. Are you crazy? That's not happening. He's the head. They might go to him behind the scenes and say, boss, clean this up. But nobody's coming out and saying, Elon Musk, you said this. No, that's not right. So something has to be addressed there. That's not how things are supposed to work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is even when Biden, if you watch that tape again, and Biden, it doesn't even seem like he's confident in what he said that the pandemic is over. It just seems like it's. I mean, let me ask you this: do you think that for the most part, for a lot of people, there's never been a pandemic? We saw some of these politicians like Nancy Pelosi getting caught going and get her hair done. We saw Gavin Newsom going to the winery, we saw the politicians at the Super Bowl. Some of these elites, some of these celebrities, some of these people, like, has there never been a pandemic for them? Has that just been a pandemic of the masses, in your opinion?
What happens when we talked about censorship. To
Hmm.
me, what happens is we definitely had a pandemic. We had a situation, whatever you want to call it, but they were able to assess the risk. They saw the numbers like you did probably and I did, and we saw that, okay, this is something that would have been a targeted thing. Even though Nancy Pelosi's in kind of the older category, she still is. It's the percentage of it, I don't have it off the top of my head, so I won't say it, but the percentage is pretty high that you're going to be okay, especially if you didn't have any other underlying issues. So they were the ones going to see their family, masks off and all that, because they knew the accurate numbers. Everyone in the country, in my opinion, that saw the accurate numbers and could, kind of assess what that meant, made their choice of, okay, I can accept this risk and go out in society. So I think what it was, they had the data. They wanted to rule by fear. So in my opinion, there was data that was censored. If you don't want me to say that, YouTube and Twitter and all that, don't censor data. So they censored the data. And then the plebs who are just trying to live their lives, and they're smart people. Regular people are smart people, but they're just ignorant and they were scared. So they effectively scared them into making decisions that gave them more power.
Exactly. I'm in total agreement with you. I think that's exactly what it was, and that's exactly what we were having. Is that people were, they use fear tactics to gain more control. I want to play this other clip from the same interview because it kind of goes on what we were talking about. Is once again, Joe Biden says something on national TV, and it's almost I mean, it didn't happen in real time, but if you watch what 60 Minutes does here, and this is another policy. Let me play that real quick, and we'll get back to it.
But would U.S. forces defend the island?
Yes, if in fact there was an unprecedented attack.
After our interview, a White House official told us U.S. policy has not changed. Officially, the U.S. will not say whether American forces would defend Taiwan, but the commander-in-chief had a view of his own. So unlike Ukraine, to be clear, sir, U.S. forces, U.S. men and women, would defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion.
Yes.
It's not funny. I mean, we're talking about life or death. It's just funny. The reason why I'm laughing is that, to me, they're trying to portray strength.
Mm-hmm.
So you ask a deep question and then you just go, yes, almost like a movie. I don't know how they edited it, but to give him that position of strength, that was like a shot in a movie. And how can you come from a position of strength when someone's under? This is at least the second or third time I've heard him say this about China and Taiwan, and they not walk it back, they completely flip on it. Who are these anonymous people flipping on it? So you can't have a position of strength. Yes. And people behind you are saying no. Even Obama, we still had, it's weird because Obama never had those type of things. I don't think you could do that with Hillary. So I don't know if Biden's in a different position of weakness or what, but that's impeachable. I don't know if people understand that or not. That is impeachable if the commander-in-chief answers, and that's a question he does not have to answer because it's a hypothetical. They teach you in a lot of these media handling schools or classes, don't answer hypotheticals. So if he's answering, he's been in DC for 50 years. He's a professional. If he's answering a hypothetical, it's to send a message. And then they come back and then they say no. That is an impeachable offense. Just that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird because literally as we're watching the show, the media walked it back. Not Joe Biden. He doubled down on it again when they asked him again. That's what's so crazy to me is that he's explicitly saying this is how we would handle this situation, and the media says no, they're not. That's not how we're going to handle this situation. So, like you said, who's pulling the strings? I don't think there's anybody in the world that believes that Joe Biden is actually making decisions.
Have we ever seen that before? You're like in the middle of the interview, they checked the president. Like, well, I don't remember. Maybe that's happened before. I've never seen that before.
No, they're literally denying what he said. I mean, I can't think of that, but I know there was something that happened recently where he said something, and they just literally was like, "That's not what he said," and you're like, "We all saw that. Like, we heard it. We were right here. We heard what he said. He's doing it. I mean, just what we said, like we were talking about right now about him saying that the pandemic is over, and then the White House press secretary says, "Well, he didn't really say that. It's not really what he meant." And it's like, then what did he mean? And if he can't say what he means, why should he be there?
Absolutely. And we're talking about the utmost seriousness, putting the lives of our young men and women in danger. And they're flip-flopping for him. He's not flip-flopping. He said this multiple times. Why is he saying this and then it's being flip-flopped? I'm not even getting into what's right or wrong on this. I'm just like, that's not how a commander-in-chief can operate. So we as American people, I mean, we've got to make some hard choices. Like if you voted for this, bruh, you've got to be able to, I'm not telling you to go MAGA. Don't do that. I'm going to do me. You got to make a decision. Like, is this what you want? Imagine if your son or daughter is in the military. You want this? This is after Afghanistan was bungled. We're having this type of stuff going back and forth. It's inexcusable.
Yeah. That was another example when they just botched Afghanistan. They acted like they didn't. They acted like that's not what happened. Everything that you see, it's almost like they just act like it didn't happen when we all saw it with our own two eyes. We all heard it with our own two ears. The man said that he would back militarily. He would send troops if China invaded Taiwan. That's what he said. He doubled down on it even in the interview. Even when the interviewee or interviewer, was it? Yeah, interviewer. Scott Pelley and CBS tried to say, no, that's not what we're doing. He still doubled down on it. And it's like, come on, man. Like, that's what he said. He's the commander in chief. If we're not going to take the commander in chief's word for it, then who are we taking? Who are we listening to at this point? Who is in charge up there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue?
And the way our government's set up is that Congress is supposed to be the checks and balances to this. If this happens in a true impartial manner from the executive branch. No one in the executive branch is going to test their boss. That's how it's set up. That's why we separated the powers, and now you have the House. It doesn't matter of party. It shouldn't matter of party. And I'm not saying that you have to necessarily impeach them, but the House and Senate are the ones that have to say, what is going on here? Figure this out. Explain this to us. And it's not happening. So now the other checks and balances are the judicial branch won't get involved in this. It's people. We have to be the ones to say, I'm not even trying to judge you, sir. What is happening? Who's making the decisions here?
That brings me to something. I want to play this clip. This is Luke Rudkowski. He's on Tim Pool's Timcast at IRL. One of my favorite podcasts that I listen to almost every day. Yeah, I'm a
big fan.
I like Tim Pool. I like what they're doing over there. I like everything that they're standing for. He's another one that was very, at one point. I mean, I think he worked for Vice or Vox or one of those. Yeah. I think it was Vice.
People don't like when I say that, but he's a leftist. I'm not saying that as a negative thing. He's a classic liberal. Mm-hmm. That's why we get along, because liberal actually was, kind of for liberty, free speech, anti-war, and he's not a traditional he's not a Republican. He's not even really a MAGA dude. He's a skateboard lefty.
Yeah, and the people that he has on the show, Luke Rudkowski being one of them, is not. I mean, they were very critical of Trump, and they were very critical of the whole MAGA stuff, and now it's like. But they get classified as right-wing extremists. I think there was even one they were saying, because I know they released a song, and they were saying, I think it was the Daily Beast that said that he only did that to lure people into his right-wing ideology. It's like Tim Pool.
Well, they got part of it right. It is to lure people through culture into like another way. So what's happened is anyone who doesn't bend the knee to corporate Republicans and Democrats is in the same boat now. We're all in the same boat. We are all ostracized. And what I like about Tim Pool is he's had Destiny on. He's had Vosh on. He's had Charlie Kirk. He would have more left people on, and I've given him some names. I think Jimmy Dore and those. He had Kim Iverson on. And I bring that up is because he's kind of giving a platform to anyone who's ostracized. And a lot of people might not want to hear this. Common people are not going to win unless we all in that ostracized group figure out how to agree or to work together on the areas we agree. That's when that starts to happen, then you're going to see even more momentum.
No, I agree. I mean, finding that common ground. We know where we disagree at, right? And do you think that's because I've ran into people that are like, I don't want to talk to them. They're on the other side. They're evil. They're this and that. But at some point, man, you can't just be isolated from everybody. I mean, do you think that we do have kind of an obligation to reach across the aisle or reach out to people who don't think the same way that we think politically, even if it's crazy?
Absolutely. You have an obligation to your beliefs. So I'm not telling you what to believe or not to believe. I'm telling you to know what you believe. And I brought this up when it came to there's a big community of people, nothing against them. I get along with a lot of them, even though we disagree. They're very big on reparations, and you could label them as black people who are for reparations. Mm-hmm. And they came out and they were like, we don't like open borders. Why? Because it depresses wages. It hurts a lot of people that we care about. And I'm like, well, then in that issue, why wouldn't you support MAGA? Because MAGA agrees. I'm not telling you to put on a red hat and look silly. I'm just saying, at least say it. Don't be afraid to say Marjorie Taylor Greene is right on this issue. I'm not saying you have to agree with her in the totality until we get to that point where we say, they would agree they're not for money to Ukraine when Jackson, Mississippi has rust water or whatever they're drinking. So then why don't you just speak out and say, I'm not for everything that Marjorie Taylor Greene says, but she's one of the only people who didn't vote for money for Ukraine. I stand up with her on that. Until we get to that point, we're not gonna win. I think we will get to that point, but it's when things crush us to the point where, like, if we're in a foxhole, nobody cares what your pronouns are. There's shrapnel, there's fire. I'm gonna say, bro, give me the whatever. It doesn't matter. So when we get to that point, then we'll get there, I think.
No, I think so. I believe so too. Let me play this clip real quick from Luke Rukowski, because that kind of sums up what we've been talking about, and I think it sums up what a lot of people feel, have been feeling for a long time anyway. So let me just play this clip real quick.
Huge. But there's no coincidence, especially when you look at the presidency, when it changes from Democratic to Republican. The national security state, American foreign policy, usually stays the same. Yeah. It's usually very hawkish. It's very neoconservative. It's very pro-war, and it's very pro-globalization, pro-IMF, World Bank policies that, of course, are spreading all this globalization around the world. What I think is happening here, if I could put on my conspiratorial hat, is that they literally wheel Biden into an interview, which he does very few of, and then they wheel him off after they take him off all the drugs. They put him at a table, just like a Fisher-Price table, and it has a button, it has a phone, but none of it actually works. And there's people behind the scenes truly calling the shots, just like they do in almost every other presidency. And Biden legitimately could be pressing the nuke button, could be calling people, talking to people, but it's all make pretend. It's all make believe. It's not real. And the people truly calling the shots are people who have more power than the president of the United States, and they probably meet in private, organize, and set policies that, of course, we've been following for many decades now, that always go unquestioned, that every president promises to change when he's going to become president. Every president, when he runs on that campaign trail, says, I'm going to stop the wars, I'm going to stop the spying, I'm going to bring back American liberties, I'm going to bring back America. And none of them are able to do it.
I love the
What a clip. That's my dude right there. And I think he would label himself as a libertarian. He's a big Ron Paul guy. And libertarians and I really like what the libertarians are doing now with the Mises Caucus, Comic Dave Smith, Angela McArdle, Michael Heiss, Robbie the Fire Bernstein. They need to get in this conversation because they are more impartial, so they can help MAGA. I think MAGA is more than Trump. It's not a Trump cult, but they help bring things like that comment right there is very true. And he was kind of talking about Trump. You talk about bringing America back, and not that Trump did everything bad, but he wasn't able to do that. And not that it was realistic to expect him to, but Luke is like, the problem is deeper than the president. And he was funny too with the, couldn't you picture that? Like Biden wheeled off, they drug him up. So he's amped up, and then he gets there. He's got a fake, He literally has a fake set. You seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that. They did some press conference in like a fake Oval Office. It was literally a TV set, and I'm like,
literally the Truman Show.
I've never seen that before.
I don't know the history of it. I've never seen it, but it's kind of going to what Luke was saying.
It's fake. Let me because I see, because you got the hoodie on, promoted to Ultra MAGA. What's your view on this, on MAGA? How do you think that it has evolved, and where do you think it's going? What is your position there?
I think MAGA is the strongest. It's the most important political movement in our country. It is, when you look at one of the biggest tests for me to see if somebody is a populist or not, and I define populist by just someone who errs on the side of giving power to people. So that's regardless of party or left or right. One of the biggest tests right now is, will you give money to Ukraine for a proxy war that I think if most Americans knew the details of what was happening, they would not be for? Mm-hmm. Will you vote for that or not? The only political party with any type of power in DC, and it's not many of them, it's Gates, it's MTG, and a lot of them are more puppets, but you got Gosar and Boebert. There's none in the Senate, even though I like some other, like Rand Paul is good. Mm-hmm. The only movement is MAGA. The only movement right now that's trying to fight against what I think is a globalist agenda. So you got puppets like Biden and the administrative state really working towards an agenda for a one world currency, one world government. They just talked about their digital assets. The only political party, if you don't want those things, the only political party against open borders and putting America first, really trying to bring jobs back, is MAGA. So I write this, I have this, I have the gear. You know what? Since I started the channel, promotion, marketing, grift, that's all kind of important. So
Yeah.
I've kind of evolved to, like, if I want to get my word out, I've got to market myself. They market themselves. So don't think I have MAGA like I won't criticize MAGA. That's not how I roll.
Mhm.
So if MAGA goes sideways, I'll criticize them. But that's kind of been my journey here.
Yeah, I get it, man, because I'm in the same boat as far as, what you just said right there. Is, you want to get your message out there, but just at the same time you want to keep your principles intact, and you don't want to sell out. And like you said, if MAGA were to, do you think MAGA? Because personally, I think MAGA is not dependent on Donald Trump. I don't think it's dependent on. I think it's just the idea of, going back to less government, smaller government, more self reliance, less dependency. Like that's kind of what I see it. You know what I mean? I don't really look at it other than that. But I can see how other people. I've seen Dave Smith, but just because you mentioned him, Dave Smith was on Tim Pool a week or two ago or something like that, and
Yeah,
he
it
was
was a
talking.
great
He was.
episode.
Yeah, you listened to it. He said some great things, and I think there's a lot of people that are also critical of Trump. Where do you think? Where do you think he's at right now? As far as you think he's still with the movement? You think he's sold out the movement? What's going on?
Yeah, 2020 Trump was not the same as 2016. That's for sure. I think most people would agree he had become kind of corporatized, and as the pandemic was a great opportunity for him to get controlled. Happened right in an election year. Then you had Black Lives Matter, the Summer of Love. He was embattled in 2020. Right now, the rally around Trump right now is more about, you can't do this to us. We know what you're doing is, Trump famously said it. Trump literally said it. He's like, it's not me they're going after. I'm just the dude. Like, he's not really a heavily political dude. He's a lifelong, basically New York Democrat. He's like, it's not me they're going, it's you. And that's true. That's one of the strongest things he's ever said. And the rallying around Trump right now is not as much about him being the right guy for president at this moment. It's more about, you can't do this to him in order to stop us. And that they're only rallying people closer to the dude.
I think so. I think that they are. I don't know. I think that something changed with him. Like you said, he's not 2020 and 2016 Trump. They're two different people. I think things have changed. I think maybe he's seen Washington for what it was. I think it's very ambitious to sit here and say, I'm going to drain the swamp. And then you get there and you see just how deep the swamp is. One of the things I was listening to somebody saying, a lot of the the staffers are the same. You've had people that have been on staffs there for 50 years, and they have a certain ideology, and they're sticking to it. They're not changing anything. Like it's just getting to the point where it's ridiculous. I think that Trump I think he kind of bit off more than he can chew, saying he was gonna drain the swamp and he was gonna get rid of all these people. I don't think it was that simple, and I think he's learning the hard way that it wasn't.
Yeah, MAGA is bigger, and you hinted at this. MAGA, for those who don't understand, I feel like I'm pretty strong in commenting on MAGA because I've been following them very closely. MAGA is bigger than Trump. So Trump could disappear. I don't want that to happen. I'm just hypothetically, Trump could just go to the sideline and literally say nothing, tweet nothing, or truth nothing, and MAGA's still going. And look at this. The biggest thing I give Trump for is being that bull in the china shop that beat Hillary Clinton. No one could have done that. It was him. So he beat Clinton, and now look at some of the offspring of the Trump, that happening. We have someone who is, to me, the strongest candidate or campaign I've ever seen run. She hasn't done anything yet. You might know who I'm going to.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of Carrie Lake. What she's saying, what she's portraying, the way she handles the media. She is like Trump, but refined. And look at DeSantis. I don't put DeSantis. I like Carrie Lake better than DeSantis actually, but DeSantis is another more refined version. Trump backed him, helped him win, and Trump is now. I mean, DeSantis is more like a more sophisticated. Look at what he did. He sent the illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard, and look at what. And he completely. This midterm will forever be known as the Martha's Vineyard midterm, and none of that could have happened without Trump.
Right, and I think he's the guy that kind of was the catalyst for everything. I think he was needed. I think he was necessary. I think, but I think ultimately our liberty and our freedom is going to be decided by us. I don't think it's going to be decided by any politician, and so for that reason. Go ahead.
Oh no! What you just said made me think about this, and I look at what do politicians tell me, and I try to. And so the typical politician will tell you, donate to me, vote for me. Carrie Lake, to your point, saying that she literally said, Donald Trump is not going to save you. Donald Trump is not saving us.
Mm-hmm.
She also said you're going to have to make sacrifices. And that's not an easy message to send. She didn't get a round of applause when she said that.
Right.
And I'm looking at it, that gives her credibility with me that she's saying things that are not politically convenient, but need to be said.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we need to say these things. And that's why it's so important that we support each other, people that are speaking out. It's not easy to be doing this. I'm pretty sure that, you have other things you could be doing besides sitting and making a podcast. I know it's fun to me too, so I'm not going to sit here and act like it's a fun thing to do. But at the same time, I wish more people would do it. I wish we can put things together more, have these type of conversations, because the conversations we're having is all getting pushed to the back. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, if you're watching and listening, sub to Che, share his channel, share his clips. You can help in many ways.
Oh yeah, there's so many ways to help, and I think that's it. It's like I said, I came on your show, and then I have you on my show. I think it's important that we kind of all network with each other and get this exposure out there because we're all on the same side, and I think most Americans are on the same side too. I don't think that there's a lot of things that are done in the dark, or done in the light. In this case, where people are publicly saying certain things just to appease everybody else, but in reality, people don't believe in a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean? People don't believe. I would find it very hard to believe that there is a person, and I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, that actually believes that you and I could possibly get pregnant and have a baby. I just don't believe that. It's impossible.
I agree completely. I saw Mark Lamont Hill did a debate with Candace Owens. And Candace, this is like, I think this is a couple of years ago. It's a while back.
It was pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. Mark Lamont Hill, this is a smart, whatever you think about him, smart dude. Candace Owens is like, can men get pregnant? And he's like, yes, men can get pregnant. And Candace, the look on her face was like, and you see that you're subscribed to kind of an ideology, like I don't even know how to describe it. Is it dogma? It's like a religion. I would put it in that category as a dogma. It's something that can't be challenged. That's what dogmas are. You can't challenge any of these things, and that's the biggest red flag when it comes to all this. If I can't be able to ask you why are we doing that? Then there's a problem, and that's exactly what we see going on. Yeah,
man, tell them about your. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's crazy when the question why is like you're almost a domestic kind concern if you're asking why. But yeah, I can tell the podcast Stuck in the Middle. You can follow me on Twitter. Do you see it there if you're watching? StucknDamid, Stuck in the Mid, on YouTube, Twitter, everywhere else.
What are you trying to do with this podcast, man? What if you were to say, this is my mission, and the people out there want to know what is the mission of Stuck in the Middle podcast? Let us have it.
I want to bring together the populist left and the populist right. There's a lot of the reason why I'm stuck in the middle is because I'm in the middle of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Kim Iverson, if you know who that is. You kind of have to follow this populist left stuff because there's no one in DC. There's no true populist left. So when you look at Nancy Pelosi on the left and Mitch McConnell on the right, that's not the plane I'm on. I'm trying to be on the plane with the people like Jay and you in the chat. So I'm in between there, and I want to bring together because I think we could run this thing. We don't agree on everything, but we would be the ones running it, and we would be able to work with each other. Marjorie Taylor Greene famously went to Congress, had a speech, and said, I just wanted to work with people. But instead, Cori Bush and others, they try to start arguments with her and fight with her and call her racist. Those are fake populists. The real populists would be like, okay, I agree with you on 2A or open borders or spending money only here in the U.S. And I'm here to just say, hey, don't look at MAGA. Don't look at people on the left as your enemies. Bring them together.
There was a before we get off, you had a and I can't remember the girl's name because she made a statement on Twitter and you were kind of calling her out because she had the opportunity. Run that back for me if you know what I'm talking about because I can't remember her name. But she had made a statement. I think it was directed toward the Young Turks or something like that. That they had said something, and you were basically calling and saying, "Hey, this is the opportunity for us to unite our principles," and they kind of dropped the ball. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, that was recently, right?
Yeah, it was. It was like a few weeks ago, actually.
Yeah. So what happened was Brianna Joy Gray.
There,
I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Brianna Joy Gray is on the populist left, and she agreed with. So MAGA has evolved to the abolish the FBI. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene has T-shirts on it.
That was the one. Yeah,
that was it. So Marjorie Taylor Greene says abolish the FBI. Brianna Joy Gray agrees abolish the FBI. And instead of, she has a platform, Marjorie Taylor Greene has a platform too. I'll hold her to the same standard. Instead of those two people getting on a podcast, they both have platforms and saying, whoa, we both agree, let's talk about it. No arguments or anything like that. Brianna Joy Gray goes on the podcast with the Young Turks and Cenk, and it was basically Cenk, and Cenk is just, attacking her, disrespecting her, bringing up other people. And I'm like, there was an opportunity for us to do something if you really want to do something. Perfect example.
Yeah.
And she could have done it. Yeah. She could have done it after the Cenk interview and still connected, but instead she didn't.
Well, I think that's the thing is when you look at like you said, the populist left has always been anti-state. You know what I mean? And now just recently they've become very, very, very embedded in the state. And so that's why I always say these are like my thing is this. When these same people are saying, hey, we should defund the police. Okay. But the same people won't say when it comes to the gun control argument, well, are the cops going to get rid of their guns? These are the same people that you make arguments and you tell me all day long that they're racist and they need to be put in check. They need to be abolished. We need to defund them, yada, 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 all these different things. But when it comes time to gun control, nobody's saying, let's lead by example and let's disarm the police. Let's disarm. Like, that's my whole thing. You first. You want us to get rid of your guns? You first. And they don't do that. And these are the populist left. These are the revolutionaries. These are supposed to be the AOCs who are supposed to anti-state. We hate these, you know what I mean? This and this and that. But yet they give more power to the state than anybody else. That's what kills me. If you're really about that, then you should have not. When you hear somebody on the other side saying abolish the FBI, I'm saying, yeah, me too. I agree with that too. Why do you agree with it? Let me tell you why I agree with it. Let's try to meet in the middle and let's try to make something like this happen and let's start a movement. But
That's why I'm very much against the race stuff.
mhm,
Because the reason why, in my opinion, Breonna Joy Gray is a black populist left, the reason why she would be very hesitant to agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene on anything is because Marjorie Taylor Greene has been labeled as this and that and this and that. So even if the populist left agrees on abolish the FBI, she's very scared and hesitant. She can go on with Cenk. He's labeled as a loudmouth, but he's not really labeled as like a right-wing nut job or something like that. So then she says, well, I can't really go on with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Or she'll say, oh, I was the first. I hate hearing that. Like we said it first. I'm glad MAGA just came around. Who cares? Are you about it or not?
exactly. You have more people. I mean, the whole point is to get people on your side so that you can actually accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. What are you going to criticize the second person that joins you? If that's the case, we'd have one person movements all the time. You know what I'm saying? You think Martin Luther King was like his right hand man and was like, get out of here, copycat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but there are real populists left. Jackson Hinkle is another one I really like. Jimmy Dore.
Yeah.
Search these people. Convo Couch, Nico House, Fiorella, Pasta. These are people we can work with. We won't agree with them on everything, but they are grounded in truth.
Man, that's the main thing, to be grounded in truth, and that's what I'm talking about. And I think that's what I'm saying. That's why I enjoy listening to your stuff and seeing everything that you put out there, because you'll call out. I mean, you'll call out Trump, you'll call out MAGA, you'll call out the right and the left, and you'll call out AOC, and you'll call out Brianna. What's her name again? I forget. I keep forgetting.
Breonna Joy Gray. Yeah.
Brianna Joy Gray.
She's good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I always say like this: I don't care who's giving the message, man. You know what I mean? And I always say I want to be right, and that doesn't mean I have to be that my way is right. But if I come to you and I'm saying the wrong thing, and then you're saying the right thing, and I find out that, oh, Osiris said this, and that sounds more right than what I've been saying, guess what side I'm on? I'm with you.
Yep.
You know? Excuse me. Oh man. Yeah, man, it was great. I appreciate you coming on, man. I encourage everybody, go to Stuck in the Middle on YouTube, subscribe to his channel, follow him on Twitter. He's always got good tweets out there. He's always putting things out, and the content, like I said, it's coming, and it's coming from a different perspective, but I don't think it's much different than what you believe, and that's the main thing. So, anything else you want to tell the audience before we take off here?
I'm going to hang out because I want to hear about the Woman King. I did a video on it, and I want to hear that review that you got going on at 8:45 tonight Pacific, right?
Yeah, that's on Broken Traditions. That's on his channel.
That's on his.
So, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Oh, okay.
So those of you that don't know, he's in the comment section right now. Broken Traditions. Go find Broken Traditions on YouTube.
I will.
He's gonna break down the Woman King, because he went to go see it the other day, and so you're not gonna want to miss it, because he's another one. That's what I'm saying. We have so many people that it's like, man, it's just common sense. Like, I'm not going to sit here and call every person that disagrees with me a racist, or anybody that does something that I don't like, they're racist. That's ridiculous. But at the same time, I'm also going to be very fair in my assessment. So, he's going to be breaking that down in about, what time is it right now? 8. In about, I would say about a little over a half hour away from now. So, go get you guys something to eat, relax, and then at 8:45, listen to what he got to say, because it's going to be dope. I'm telling you. But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. We'll see more. We'll get more. We'll have more content together. You know what I mean? You already know I'm a phone call away, bro.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for watching.
Appreciate it, man. Hang on for a second. I'll get to you right after I do this little intro. Man, that was Osiris from the Stuck in the Middle podcast. Like I tell you guys, man, go listen to what he's talking about. It's like everything else. I feel like we're all in this kind of like same type of scenario where we don't really know what side we're on, but we all agree to a certain extent, more so than we disagree. And if we can just get over the hump and get over that idea that we don't get past this, man. We have to get past these little barriers that we have because somebody's on this side or somebody, they have this, they wear a red hat, or they're over here Antifa or whatever, Black Lives Matter. Look, man, a lot of us agree more, and I've been saying this for a long time. We agree more than we disagree. You know, that was a perfect example, like he was saying about I keep forgetting, Brianna Joy Gray, I believe it is. Yeah, you know, that's a perfect example right there, bro. That there's somebody that we agree, we have the same type of understanding, we have the same place that we want to go, but yet you don't want to say something because of somebody, the stigma that's on it. Look at the stigma. Look what it's coming from. Most of this stuff is all corporate induced. It's all coming from this ideology of the corporatocracy, the globalist agenda. That's what they're all trying to do, and we've talked about this over and over again on this podcast, and you guys all know what I'm talking about. But if you have not subscribed to Stuck in the Middle on YouTube, go ahead and do that. If you haven't subscribed to Broken Traditions, he's going to be on in 30 minutes breaking down the Woman King. Go on over there and listen to what he's talking about. And smash the subscribe button while you're here at the No Spoon Podcast. We need more people to subscribe, share, like, comment, do all that's necessary, man. Let's get this word out. And I appreciate everybody for joining us. If you're just listening to the replay on wherever you listen to podcasts, because the audio version is out there. If that's what you're doing, driving in your car at the gym or whatnot, appreciate you too. Leave a good rating, leave some comments. Do what you got to do to get this out there, man. I appreciate everybody's on there. Until then, my name is Che. This is the No Spoon Podcast.